Welcome everybody to the Sports Lounge and the Marshall Experience. Hey, obviously this is not a normal day that you see either one of our shows here on YouTube or any other social media platforms, but hey, this is a special show. We're actually going to be talking about the NBA draft that just happened over the weekend. We got NBA free agency that is coming up starting Monday. But I wanted to sit there and take the time and talk about this. And actually, Marshall himself, he is a big avid basketball person. He spent time in D1 playing college basketball. So he and I definitely, definitely enjoys the aspect of the college game. So with that being said, I'm just going to hop right into our sponsors real quick. And I want to thank, obviously, the Mogul brand, which we are powered by, and the uh, the Diamond Collection. We also have Number One Sports Fan, which is located Tulare, Visalia, Hanford, and West Covina in Los Angeles. We've also got Cali Built Graphics. They take care of all of your hats, shirts, decals, anything like that. And last but not least, we have Brian Martino Construction. Hit up Brian at brianmartinoconstruction.com for any of your estimates. Any of those places, mention the Sports Lounge, and you will get a discount, especially at Brian Martino. You need any remodel done on your bathroom, kitchen, or anything, any type of work, $10,000 more, he will give you $1,000 off when you mention the Sports Lounge Media. So we want to thank each one of them. But hey, let's get right into this. Marshall, hey, how you doing, brother?
Good, absolutely, brother. Just to correct you, I appreciate the vote of confidence. I did not play Division One basketball. I did have D1 offers, but I did play NAIA basketball. But we do have college basketball experience, absolutely. But hey, I appreciate that vote of confidence, brother. That sounded good coming out your mouth.
Hey, sometimes you got to do it. I trust me. I had my offers too, and I can relate. But
Yeah,
sometimes
I
it
had
is what it
6
is.
family members that needed me closer to home, so it is what it is.
But no, hey. So what platforms can we see you at?
Oh, absolutely. So we are on obviously probably the more popular ones, YouTube, TikTok, but we are on also Facebook, guys. We're on Facebook, Instagram. Those are our lower platforms that we're really trying to build, and especially the YouTube. So if you haven't gone over to the Marshall Experience on YouTube or any of the mainstream social medias, you're going to want to do that immediately. So
Now, your big background, of course, one everyone knows, is actually in fantasy sports.
yes, sir.
So you are leading a lot of. Now, do you focus on all fantasy sports or strictly fantasy football? Like,
So I have dabbled a little bit with other sports. So like basketball and baseball, those are more daily lineups. You run into daily lineups versus weekly lineups with football, right?
right.
I have dabbled, but I would say that I would surround myself with the sign of expertise around fantasy football. So
Gotcha.
if anybody had any questions revolving the other two, I could assist, but I would put my stamp on fantasy football.
Yeah. See, I'm right there with you on the fantasy football thing. I've spent many years playing that. I've tried basketball. It's just baseball is fun to play, but baseball, it's like you just have to look at the schedule for the week and realize, hey, because you're not really worried about the pitching aspect when it comes to fantasy sports. You're just worrying about your lineup. So realistically, you always need to make sure on fantasy baseball you're taking out, your star players for at least one or two games. But rest of the time, you pretty much don't even have to set a lineup, to be honest.
Yeah, but so basketball and baseball, that's the more intense side of fantasy because you're basically waking up every morning setting a new lineup.
Yeah.
Football, you get to just change a couple times during the week and tinker with it. Basketball and baseball, these are daily games that are played during the season. So you have to wake up, invest yourself into having a successful season.
Yes.
Football is a little bit more laid back in the fact of, it's less time consuming.
Exactly. So there, of course, what days is the Marshall Experience on?
So we are on Tuesdays and Thursdays right now. Actually, we are double dipping in fantasy. It is fantasy season and it's draft season among us. So we're really trying to get the information as much as we can. Typically on Thursdays, we just cover NFL or really any other just major sport news. But like I said, right now we are double dipping twice a week on fantasy sports.
Okay. And of course, you can catch Sports Lounge Media on Wednesday nights at 6 p.m. Pacific Standard Time. So those of you guys don't realize, that's us on the West Coast. Marshall, he goes on Central Standard Time, so he's always 2 hours. So if you're on the West Coast, Marshall comes out now 2 hours before that. So
Correct. Yep. Eight
so,
o'clock both nights. 8 o'clock Central both nights.
so for those guys who don't know, that is going to be 6 o'clock Pacific Standard Time. So hey, let's hop right into this show. So you just released, we posted up on obviously on your on the Marshall Experience. We know with Sports Lounge Media, you posted up your NBA draft grades, and we're going to talk about the top 10. I know there's a lottery, which is the top 15 picks, but I mean, let's be honest. You're down 11-15. You did decent enough that all right, you're not really, because a lot of times you see those usually coming with teams that possibly even make the playoffs. I mean, yes. I've said before, 67% of the NBA teams make the playoffs anyway. So let's go over this top 10. So what did you have? So you put Cooper Flagg as you gave that draft for Dallas an A or A plus. What'd you give that?
I think it was an A or an A plus. And this is what it boils down to. Sometimes it's better to be lucky than good. Okay. Yes. Dallas had less than a 2% chance of getting this pick. I think that Nico Harrison kind of chalked it up to the Luka trade. Well, we got Cooper Flagg because of Luka. Well, and that's not how that works. In the NBA, we go through a lottery system and it's percentaged. Again, they had less than 2% chance of getting that pick. And the Mavs are getting Flagg. He's just not only an elite two-way player, but he's a ready now two-way player in the NBA. And I think he's ready to impact the team, help them win now, and really be the bridge for the for the franchise's future. I think, in the NBA, I think he could have a very good season defensively. He's a great shot blocker, high steal rate, terrific passer. I think that in his lone season in college, he took those major strides as a shooter and a creator. And, I think that now that Luka's gone, obviously he's the face of the franchise. And I think that there was no better player. So I think this is a home run for Dallas.
So I will agree with you as being a home run for Dallas. Obviously, when you win the player of the year, there's a reason why, because you are the best in college. But I do give grades a little more stricter when it comes to what is needed and stuff like that. The big thing for me with Flagg coming out of college after the first year, I actually gave this grade a B plus, and I gave that grade because of his age. His body hasn't still fully matured, so we don't know what's going to happen. We've seen other young players like Zion Williamson, who also came out of Duke. What was it, 4 years ago, something like that?
Yeah, it was 2000. I want to say 19.
Yeah, I know it's within the last 10 years. I can't remember the years. There's just way too many. But for me, it's the same concept. Played one season, came out, and dealing with the injuries because his body hasn't fully grown. Now, Zion Williamson was a different breed. You got a guy who's 6'10", but he was also built 60 pounds.
He was a football player on a basketball court.
Yeah. Exactly. Cooper Flagg is obviously, he's a leaner, taller kid. He has adapted from high school to college. We've seen that. But when you're going in, the only thing that will help him is the fact is that it is his outside shooting. I don't think he is the face of the franchise, though. I think for me, he will be the face of the franchise. But you got to remember, Kyrie's still there. Anthony Davis is there. Klay Thompson, I think that's what makes that pick so valuable, because he has three guys, and I'm not going to say Anthony Davis is going to be a Hall of Famer, but let's be honest, same thing. Everyone in the NBA makes the playoffs. A lot of guys make the Hall of Fame.
Well, and my thing about Anthony Davis is can he stay healthy?
Exactly.
With Cooper Flagg and him in the lineup, I think maybe you could see Anthony Davis move to the 5 or Cooper move to the 3 spot. Which would be very interesting. And, with him in the lineup, I think that makes this whole team better, right? Healthy. Yes. But even if the fact he cannot stay healthy, now they have Cooper to step into that 4 spot, worst case scenario.
I think that's the key factor to that statement right there. You just nailed it down. If Davis needs a break, you can sit there and take Flag from a 3 and put him at a 4. I don't, because Anthony Davis came out and said he hates playing the 5. Absolutely hates playing it.
Yes.
So if you got a guy who doesn't want to play the 5, then don't put him at the 5.
Right.
So that's where he has always shown that he is very good playing the 4. He is a all-star player when he's playing the 4. He struggles when he's playing against the big. You put Anthony Davis the size of that body against a guy like Nico, against Jokic, against he might do well against Rudy Gobert, because similar size, but realistically though, so I think keeping Davis at the 4, Flag at the 3. Of course, they'll run Clay at the 2, Kyrie at the 1. But they can give Davis and Flag a good solid rotation of giving them breaks and bringing somebody in. So, and the good thing about it is Davis can shoot the outside ball, because obviously when he started in the league, when he first went to college, he was a guard. He was not even a power forward. He was only 6'3", 6'4", and he just shot up right at his senior year of high school. So that's why when he got recruited out of going to Kentucky. So they were actually recruiting him originally as a guard. They were already watching. It's like, hey, this dude's got good handles. So for me, and I think that's the same concept with Cooper Flag. Cooper Flag comes from a athletic family.
Very much
so. I think he's had good mentoring, good, raised the right way. It's like they stay very well in tune, as you saw even on draft night with all the brothers up there in his interview. So I think that's probably, it was a great pick. I mean, that's the legitimate pick. It's like you have the whole board. So that one is pretty simple, but for me right now, I give it a B+. On the next pick was the Spurs, was Dylan Harper, Ron Harper's son.
Yes.
So he went, you gave it actually an A-.
Yes, I did.
I gave it an A+. And for me, giving out an A+ is like, it's very difficult, but him coming out of Rutgers, I think for me, the big thing for him, it's a good draft for the Spurs, teaming him up with a Wemby.
Yes, 100%.
And I do think he probably was the most advanced guard that was coming out. I know you had tossed out your predictions, and I will always, and they were making fun of me for saying this this last week, was I'll give credit where credit was due, because what'd you go in the top 10? I think it was like 9 for 10. 8.
I got the top 4 correct in a row, and then really we guessed all 10 correctly. It just was mixed up from
yeah.
So it was close, but yeah, I can agree with you. I think that this is, besides Cooper, I think this is one of my more favorite picks of the draft. I think they haven't got an inside-out tandem now that they can build around for the next 15 years, right, with Harper and Wemby.
Yep.
He's a big lead guard, natural feet for the position and the game. I think he has great playmaking instincts. Honestly, I think he makes his teammates around him better.
Yeah.
I noticed that in college. There are some long-term questions about his shooting ability for me and his durability. But if he can address those areas, I think his ceiling is an all-star player for San Antonio. I mean, I think this is one of those guys that could consistently see success in the league. But 2 things he has to figure out for me would be the shooting potential and the durability.
I think you nailed it dead on head, was the shooting potential. For me, him being a guard, being the size that he is, he does remind me a lot of his dad.
Right.
I just see very similarities. He can take, Ron Harper, when he was in the league, he was a guy, he wasn't a big time shooter. He was a guy that they took to lead the floor. He was truly the floor general. And you see that upbringing with Dylan, and just knowing like, okay, this is a guy, when he was at Rutgers, he did what was needed to be done. He has the capability of leading that team. And so that's where I just feel like, okay, he doesn't have to be the number 1.
No.
That's a big thing. When he was at Rutgers, he had to be the number 1. He was expected to be the number 1. Him going to San Antonio, it wasn't expected. Because Wemby, obviously they did everything they could when they got Wemby. Wemby is the number one. We all know that.
Correct.
So I think that's what makes that one. That's why I give that an A plus. Um, the next pick was VJ Edgecombe, the shooting guard. What did you give that one? I'm trying to remember.
I think it was in the B area.
You gave that one an A. I actually just
Oh,
pulled
did
up
it?
the.
Okay.
Yep, you gave that one an A. I gave that one a B plus. Um, what do you see in that one to give him an A?
I don't think that it's. I don't think it's more of a short term answer. I think it's more of a long term. You know, maybe an A was a little high, but I think it's a solid pick. Maybe not spectacular. But in my opinion, he's a spectacular athlete. Incredible defensive potential.
Yep.
He can put a ton of pressure on the rim, but he needs, I think, in my opinion, he needs time to grow his guard skills, particularly spot up threes and being the primary ball handler. Now,
right.
I don't think that he's going to have to worry about the primary ball handler thing right away because they have a Tyrese Maxey, they have a Jared McCain, right? They have these guys that are already their cornerstone guards. And when I made this mock draft originally, there was what I would like to believe a 76ers fan that got on there and was like, why would they make this pick? And my explanation was because it's the 76ers. Like this, it doesn't make a lot of sense, but neither did Ben Simmons, neither did, what I mean? It's just pick after pick that's really possibly going to work out or not going to work out. And I think it's always a 50-50 shot. I do like Edgecombe out of their more recent drafts, but yeah, maybe A was a little bit much, but I think it's a solid pick.
For me, I agree on that being a solid pick. Playing at Baylor for me, and I agree. It's like, I think you nailed it dead on the head when you said it's the 76ers. The 76ers, I do not feel that they draft to what is needed. I think they always just take what's best in the draft at that spot. I don't think they're like, okay, hey, you can have a guy like Allen Iverson, and then all of a sudden, who's your number two, and the next year in the draft, they obviously wouldn't make the playoffs, but they would go and take another shooting guard in the first round. It's like, why? But if that's the best player available, that's what they do. I don't think they really want to think about it, and I think that's why they struggled for so many years and not actually doing anything, because instead of saying, hey, this is what we need. I know some guys will hate this comment right here, but the team that I always feel that does the same thing is the Lakers. The Lakers actually changed that this year by going after what they needed and getting a center. Usually they'll just take whatever's the best on the board.
Correct. Yeah, no, I think they did it. I think they had a solid draft this year.
So that's for me. I mean, yeah, they took the best player that they had that was available to them. But there really was nothing. It wasn't one of those like, I'll use draft day as an example. It wasn't one of those, wow, I want to be wowed. It's like,
absolutely, yeah.
This was expected. Next pick was the Hornets, and it was another Dookie, Colin Nipple or Con Nupple Nipple.
Knipple. Whoa, Knipple, get it right.
Yeah, I'm gonna say, dude, that's like me trying to spell my name. I'm
that's
just like,
right. I'm a Dookie. I'm a Dookie at heart. I got you.
Knipple. So anyway, here's another one that comes from a breed of athletes.
Absolutely. Mom was lead scorer at Green Bay in college. He got up there with all his younger brothers. You kind of seen he was the oldest one.
Yep.
Ready to lead the legacy charge, and I loved every second of it. Like this pick for me, he can play right now. He knows how to play with other good players. He can hold his own offensively, and he showed it at Duke, right?
Yes.
When Cooper Flagg went down in the ACC tournament, he showed he can be the alpha as well.
Yes.
He's incredibly skilled, very strong, and the IQ is what impresses me the most with Con. My concern is on the defensive end. He's not an elite athlete for me. He wasn't guarding NBA level 2 guards at Duke.
Right.
There wasn't a lot that he had to face, and how will he fit next to LaMelo and Brandon Miller? That's another question. I think that LaMelo could very well use that spot up shooter, which is exactly what Knippel's going to be. But I'm a little worried on the defensive end, and if he can focus on that and really tunnel in on that defensive side, I really think he could be a great NBA player.
I'm right there with you when it comes to. I think that was the best pick that they had available to them. I think it was the right pick. I actually gave it an A-. You gave it a B+.
Yes.
I gave it that A- because, again, for what the Hornets needed, and you just said it, that spot-up shooter, that's exactly what Ball needs. He needs that guy that can be a spot-up shooter because, yes, Ball likes to drive the ball, but you got a guy, hey, I can dish it out. I got someone there, and Knippel does have that capability. He does have that talent to do that. His weakness is going to be on that defensive side, but let's be honest, there's no defense really played in the NBA anyway, so you don't have to be a defensive player of the year. It's either your offensive guy or your defensive guy. So I think as long as he just keeps honing in those that spot up shooting, but for what was the pick, I think that was the right pick for the Hornets because they addressed what they needed.
Yes.
Next we had Ace Bailey and the Utah Jazz. So you gave it a C, and if I remember, I actually gave it a D+.
Yeah. So for me, it's not necessarily the player, right? It's maybe the representation for the young guy. It's the team. It's just, I just think it's a bad location. Okay. Player wise, I give this an enthusiastic A. All right. I think his upside is significant. He didn't work out for Utah, but they weren't obviously going to get bullied by his representation, coming out and saying that he didn't want to get drafted. He didn't want to go there, blah, 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 blah. Look, Utah, I think, at this point, took the best prospect on the board. I believe that he had the potential to be a top 3 prospect in this draft. He's a jumbo wing, high-level athlete, and a tough shot maker. At Rutgers, him and Dylan Harper were the 1-2 alpha omega at the Rutgers. If everything clicks, he could potentially have the highest upside in the draft. Ace Bailey is going to have an opportunity to have an immediate impact. I think in the long run can work out very well if they can mesh, if they can come together, and that's why it's a C, is because I probably the last place I seen Ace Bailey was Utah. I was hoping this was going to be a 6 through 10 pick and kind of go to the Pelicans or somewhere. I don't know, a little less Utah-y. I don't see him fit there. I just don't think it's a good fit for player versus team, and you need that chemistry.
Right. So the big thing that I had was for him to come out and say, I do not want to be drafted by you. And then for Danny Ainge to still come out and draft him. He's like, and he drafted 2 players, him and Walter Clayton, that both were just like, I don't want to go to Utah.
Yeah.
Who would want to go to Utah? It's Utah. Who the heck wants to go to Utah? Unless if you're Mormon, that's the only reason that anybody ever wants to go to Utah. There is absolutely nothing there. I actually originally thought, I personally would have liked to have seen the 76ers had taken Bailey over Edgecombe. I felt that was a better fit. But obviously they didn't do that. And to me, it was, you and I, we had a conversation, and when it comes to actual team needs, I had listed the San Antonio Spurs as having the best draft. Obviously with the Dylan Hopper, and I had the Utah Jazz as taking the craziest draft. Because you had not 1, but 2 guys in the first round that said, I don't want to go to Utah. And Danny Ainge still basically said, well, guess what? This is the NBA. You're going to do what we want to do. And no offense, if Danny Ainge says, hey, we're going to utilize you right, he knows what he's doing. He is GM of the year multiple times. He's won a world championship as a player and as a coach. He is a multi-sport athlete. He was also drafted in Major League Baseball by the Toronto Blue Jays. So the guy is athletic. He knows what to do with the players, and he knows how to win. And so that's where you have to just trust Danny Ainge. And I believe he's already having that conversation because as of today, Ace Bailey reported this morning to Utah Jazz.
How do we feel? It's a question. How do we feel about him not taking the same flight as his draftee partner?
I think that's him just he's trying to become like, I want to be the face.
So he's basically saying, look, dude, I was the 5th overall pick.
I'm superior to you. And
right,
to me, like to me personally, if I had to choose between Bailey and Walter Clayton, I've spent a lot of time watching Walter Clayton out of Florida.
I was say Walter Clayton ain't no slouch. And
I can't. I hated that dude every time he played against Tennessee. I'm just like, can somebody please tackle the dude?
Yeah,
do something because that guy can sit there and just pop up from anywhere, and he is so clutch. It was ridiculous. I felt Walter Clayton got robbed. He should have been drafted a lot higher than what he was. But for me, like I said, I just think it's an ego thing, and I think Danny Ainge is going to put it into check real quick, and because he's the type of player like, I'll make you sit. I don't really care. Because he still has to sign the contract. He still has to agree to everything. Nothing's been signed yet, so we don't know what's going to be guaranteed. It's like, you want to act a fool, then we're going to make it affect your wallet. And that's when people start paying attention. How's it going to affect my wallet?
Exactly.
So that one to me was the craziest draft pick of this year. I do not think it was the best one, but hey, he was the best player at that point. So next we had Washington taking Trey Johnson. Trey Johnson out of Texas.
Yes.
I gave it a B+, and you gave it the same exact grade. What did you see in him?
I think that if this is Ace Bailey here, I think it's a A- or an A. But I think the Wizards had the last option of the clear top 6 in the draft.
Mm-hmm.
They tried to get Bailey, came close. If Johnson was the original contingency plan, well, then this is a great outcome for you. I think he has NBA caliber size, able to score right away in the NBA, in my opinion. I think that at Texas, he showed growth when it came to efficiency. I like him as an NBA sized guard. I like the location because I think Jordan Poole needs a little bit more help in the backcourt.
Yes. I think that's a big factor. Like you nailed it right there. Jordan Poole needing the help in the backcourt. He was relied on way too much, and that's what he does need. And so that was the right pick. And I do agree. The Ace Bailey pick would have been a better option, but with Johnson being there, he does have that NBA size. He's ready. He's a ready to play now guy. Me personally, I don't think Ace Bailey is a ready to play now, but he's going to play now because obviously he's the number 5 pick. So that's to me, I could plug in Trey Johnson into any starting lineup in the NBA. Ace Bailey, you can only plug him into a start. In my opinion, you can only plug him into a starting lineup because you're so desperate, you have to put him in there.
I don't necessarily know that he starts for the Jazz, and that's me being honest. I mean, you got to think about it. They already have Laurie McLaurin. I can't say his last name, but yeah, Laurie, the guy that played for Chicago. He got traded to Utah a couple years ago. I don't think that they're really needy at the forward position, and Ace is not that big.
Right.
I don't see Laurie playing the 5. So, I mean, is he the 3? I don't know. Even like I said, he may be the 6th man. He may be Laurie's backup. we don't mark it in. We don't really know what that situation is going to look like yet.
Yeah, that is true. That is true. Um, so that's a big thing. Next one we got actually is the Pelicans, and uh, you gave them an A minus, which was Jeremiah Fears, that guard.
Yes.
Um, and I gave it a B plus. I mean, we're probably right there in the similar. I know I just tend to see a little differently when it comes to grades. Um, but A minus. What do you see in A minus wise?
So I'm a little skeptical, just a tad bit. I do think that he's one of the more polarizing prospects in the draft, right? But there is also bust potential. Okay,
Mm-hmm.
and hear me out. When you take a guard like Fears, you are saying, I believe he can be the primary creator, right?
Right.
I think that his most likely outcome is just really an instant impact scorer on a second unit. There are major questions about how a guy who doesn't shoot great from the three and is really ball dominant.
Yeah.
I don't think really Zion Williamson has seen somebody come in there and be ball dominant yet. So how does that really clash together? Can he adapt to having less chances with the ball in his hands, with Zion being the 30 point guy over there? I
Right.
think it's a risky bet, but I think that if it all comes together, I think that it could potentially be one of the better picks of the draft.
Yeah, I agree. So for him coming out of high school, he actually reclassified and came out at 17-year-old, just like Cooper Flag did.
Yes.
So you have a person whose body still hadn't even matured yet, 100%. And for him to jump from high school to the SEC, it's the same concept. I've said it. The SEC is basically a minor football league, a minor basketball league, because if you're playing in the SEC, you're playing in realistically one of the toughest leagues, one of the toughest conferences in all, if not the toughest conference in all of college sports, because it's the most well balanced with competition wise. I know Duke has North Carolina, things like that, but we've seen Duke and North Carolina kind of dropped off a little bit, for a few years, and they kind of pick up, and it keeps doing this over there. There's always a dominant one. You don't see someone that stays. In the SEC, it's constant. It's like, crap, is it going to be Florida? Or now you got Oklahoma. You got Texas in there. You got Tennessee. Look at what they did. They made a run again. So you have so many teams in that. It's like you never know who is going to win the SEC. There is never a guarantee. And for him to come in and have the capability that he did was a big thing. He's able to come off the ball real well, off the bounce. And so I think that's what's going to help him and Zion. So he has that capability with the ball handling skills, and that's what Zion needs. Zion does not need to be bringing up the ball like I've watched him do for quite a few years. It's like, dude, you're 6'10", 260 pounds, 300 pounds, however big you want to be. I don't care. You should not be bringing the damn ball up. And so now he's going to have a guard that actually can do that for him, and I think that's what's going to make the Pelicans actually real good. His biggest thing is, again, it's the impact that he has on the defensive side. But again, you have a 6'3", 180-pound kid, and I'm not saying that lightly. He's a kid going to the NBA, so he is going to get manhandled. He's going to have to sit there and do something to gain some strength. He does have that capability to get to wherever he wants to on the court, so I think it's going to be a good pick. He does have the highest upside. I actually think that is, besides the Harper pick, to me, this was probably the best pick for a team aspect. Next pick we had Igor Demon out of BYU, that guard. 6'8", 200-pound kid. You and I were, again, very similar on our grades. I gave that one an A minus. and you gave that one, I believe it was an A. I'm trying to take a look real quick. No, you gave that one a B. You gave that one a
See,
B.
and so this one, this one I'm a little surprised and I'm a little confused. So everyone calls him a point guard, right? But he's 6'9". I'm not really buying into that. Okay, I see him as a facilitating forward. To draft him this high, you have to believe in his upside and believe that he's a point guard. And because at this point of the draft, at pick 8, you don't take a facilitating forward, especially when he struggles defensively and shooting from the outside.
Mm-hmm.
He has too many holes in his game. He mostly defended forwards at BYU. So if he's a point guard, why is he defending forwards? And, who is he going to guard the NBA? It would being 6'9". I think that he has to be guarding forwards. But again, as you stated, no 6'9", 6'10" players should be bringing the ball up the court.
Right.
So, for me, I think there just needs to be a little more clarity for me to give them a better grade of how they're going to facilitate and how they're going to use him. But yeah, right now it would definitely be a B for me.
So for me, I gave him the A- because to me, he was the best passer coming out of college. He has the capability of being a very good pick and roll type of player. He does lack that explosiveness, and he is streaky on his 3-point shooting. So I do agree with that. And so that's what led to his struggle with turnovers. But with that being said, just the size, and his passing skills, I'm not saying that he's Magic Johnson, but I'm just saying you got a guy who's 6'9" that has the passing capabilities that he does. There was one other guy that was 6'9" that had passing capabilities that were unreal, and that was Magic Johnson.
Will we ever see another Magic?
No. We'll never see another Magic. No. But for me, like I said, that's why I gave it that A- because you have a guy who has the capability to pass the way he does. And that's what made it impressive for me. That's why I have them at an A-. Gotcha. And Brooklyn needs that. Brooklyn needs somebody that can pass the ball. So yeah, he might be a tall guy, but no offense, Wemby's 7'6" and he's playing small forward. They're all the entire league is just getting stretched like crazy. So you got guys that are 6'6" playing centers, but guys that are 7'6" playing small forwards. You got Zion Williamson at 6'10", 290 bringing the ball up. Just the athleticism down in the NBA, it's completely backwards from what it used to be when we were younger. Usually if you were a point guard, you better not be over 6'2". When I was growing up, at least. Yeah. Magic was that rare breed. It was the same concept of Wilt Chamberlain. When he played back in the days, he was the lone guy that he was a foot taller than everyone else. So yeah, that's why I give that one an A-. Next we had Colin Murray Boyles out of South Carolina. He was a forward. He was the 4th overall ranked forward in the draft and dropping all the way to 9. You gave it a B+. We actually both gave that a B+.
Yeah, so I like him more than most. But I think the knock is really his size, his undersized value at the big. He's 6'6" without shoes on. He's not a 3-point shooter.
Nope.
But he's very long with a 7-foot wingspan and very strong. And those are some things that you just can't teach, right?
Right.
He plays bigger than he is. He's an excellent processor of the game. I think he's really defensively versatile in the way that he can move around. In Toronto, I think he's similar to Scotty Barnes, but not as good yet. But I think he fits more important when you try to maximize the asset. So for me, I think that maybe he learns from a Scotty Barnes somewhere where it's similar to his game style and he can elevate it to the next level and, take it himself. I think that's very potential wise, but right now, but I like the pick more than most because they brought in a player that reminds me of a player they already have.
Yeah, I think I agree with that. And for me, with that pick, it's going to allow him to grow with that style of player and learning from a guy like Scotty Barnes. He does lack that size. When he is a 6'7", 240-pound guy, with shoes on. But just the physicality is not there. But again, do we really need to worry about the physicality in today's NBA? Does that need to be like a strong suit? Because you can't touch him anymore. So for me, that's why I want to see what he's going to be able to do with his shooting.
Yes.
So that's where I have it at a B+. Last but not least, we have the 10th pick, which is another Dookie. I'm going to murder his name. I'm going to say this. Kaman Maluak.
It's actually pretty close. Actually, it's. I think it's Malwak. Yeah, it's something.
Malwak.
I can't even pronounce this one. So I ain't gonna judge you for that.
Yeah. So he was actually drafted by the Rockets, and he was traded to the Suns.
Correct.
So Phoenix getting him. How do you like that?
What I think I gave it an A. What did I?
You gave it an A-. I gave it an
A-. Yeah. So I'm a big believer in Malwak. Okay. So I think, in my opinion, he does have the more longevity future in the league. He's 7'2", 7'6" wingspan. Again, things you can't teach. But this league is going back into Lob City, right? And he's an extreme lob threat. That's one of the best things that he is at right now, and especially last year at Duke. He's exceptionally mobile for a big man. He can run end to end and really also move laterally really well. He has shot blocking potential, but is not a big time shot blocker just yet. I mean, I see it on the court, but it didn't translate into the stats at Duke. Phoenix really doesn't have anybody in that front court right now. So he can play immediate minutes and turn into a very good player over time.
Yeah. They did just also acquire Mark Williams to play center.
Yes.
So he's going to have somewhat of a guy that's been in the league for a little bit, and he's going to be able to learn from, because he's still learning. He's learning from both sides of the ball. He was a part of the the NBA Academy Africa project. So He's still learning, but he was the top center that came in the league. But having him, Devin Booker, Jalen Green, they needed a big, and they got the number one center in the draft. And I think that was a perfect fit, and that's why I gave it that A, because they managed to get exactly what was needed, but they also addressed certain things that they also with getting Mark Williams too. So he's going to have someone he can learn from, not just here. This is what you got to do. When you have that veteran voice, it does make it a lot easier to learn. So I think that was a perfect pick. I definitely think Phoenix is going to do very well now that KD is gone, but adding Jalen Green in there, plus Devin Booker, plus Malwak, yeah. I'm just going to call him Cayman.
That's all right. That's what I do with Lori.
I'm like, nah, you're Cayman, dude. Yeah, but I mean, 7'1", 253 pounds, that's a big body right there. And so it's actually nice to see a center that's more than 200 pounds. Like, correct. Let's be honest, because
they're pretty scrawny nowadays.
Exactly.
So my question to you would be, what was your and I have mine because I know I graded mine at. Besides the team that had no picks, what was your least grade?
As a team?
Yeah, as a team, what was your worst one?
Actually, I sent you my list. Give me a second.
Oh, I can go ahead with mine while you look.
Mine was the Pelicans.
Okay, so we had already talked about the Pelicans.
Yep.
So mine was
the other one that I had real quick was Memphis.
Yeah, who did they end up taking?
Huh?
Who did they end up taking?
Shit.
Memphis.
Nobody.
What were they?
Yang Hansen out of China.
Oh yeah.
Well, he was traded to Portland.
He got traded to Portland. Correct.
I don't even remember who they had, because they picked up someone. I don't even think they had someone. Oh, they ended up. That's right. They got Cedric Coward out of Washington State.
I kind of like Cedric. I think he could turn into something decent.
Uh,
I do.
I still, to me, it wasn't.
I just don't. I don't understand the Yang. What is his name? Yangson.
Yang Hansen.
Yeah, Yang Hansen. I don't understand that pick. I don't.
Well,
but my pick that really just irked my nerves, and of course, I had to talk about my own team, but the Miami Heat. I wanted to give him an F so bad. I absolutely hated this pick, but I gave him a D plus, and the reason being, man, I don't understand this pick at all. In 11, this guy shouldn't even have been in the first round. In 11 games last year, this guy had, and I can't even say his name, Kasparis. Yeah, good luck.
Casper the Friendly Ghost. This cat's going to be named Casper the Friendly Ghost. That's what we're going to call him.
But for me, in 11 games last year, he had more turnovers than made shots, Mark. More turnovers than made shots. And we're drafting this man with the 20th pick. It doesn't scream any NBA talent to me at all. And I couldn't be more frustrated with Pat Riley right now. I don't know what we're doing. I don't know if we're tanking. I don't know what we're doing.
The pick that I don't have an NBA team. I'll stick with my college when it comes to basketball. I pay attention to the Pistons. I pay attention to Boston. I just pay attention across the board.
Right. Yeah. I get that.
The pick that I didn't like the Hugo Gonzalez to Boston.
No.
I thought that was absolutely absurd. He averaged 11 minutes per game. That's it.
Yes.
I'm like, bro, I can go play 11 minutes over in Spain for a game. Draft me, forget it. And I'm fat.
Right. Yeah.
I'm just like, so I was a little upset with that one.
He's got to improve on his 3-point shooting.
Yeah.
Shooting 29% last year and going to Boston where they like to shoot threes is not going to really work out.
No.
But I like his pass. I like his passing ability in Boston. I could say that, but he's got to playing 11 minutes a game. That's rough over there.
Yeah, and the other pick that they had was Noah Pinda, which they traded away.
Yes.
So I'm just like, you literally just wasted everything.
Boston's going to look significantly different next year.
Oh yeah, now that you've got Porzingis gone, you've got
Derek White, Jaylen Brown have been getting calls. They're just looking to revamp.
The pick
which is crazy because you just won the championship 2 years ago.
Yeah, exactly. So for me, the pick that I like, that I felt that Boston should have made. Yes, I'm being biased, but they needed a guy that can fill in for Jason Tatum. They needed a number 3. They had a guy sitting there in Chaz Lanier. Yes, I know my SEC, I know my Tennessee basketball, but he was a number 3. He was the best number 3, realistically, that was available at the time, and they just let him go. I'm glad he ended up in Detroit. Watching him
I think he fits well in Detroit.
I think he does. I think he would have fit well either place. So I am glad to see him in Detroit with Cade Cunningham. He's going to be able to do what he needs to do. I think there are going to be a lot of free agencies that they're going to get picked up. So that were not drafted. One that got me was what was his name? Mark Sears out of Bama. Can't stand Bama. Freaking hate him. But he went undrafted. My personal opinion.
I didn't expect Mark. And then Hunter Dickinson.
Yep.
Kansas went, and then there was a couple more that I was surprised about. But yeah, no, those would be big ones for me too.
So to me, I saw quite a few guys that they should have got drafted over some of these people that were taken. So I don't know what – obviously they see things more than we see. They have access to things more than we do, but it makes those that are fans, those that actually try to pay attention to the game, it makes us sit there and think what the hell you all thinking? They wonder why they call for your damn head. But no, that's what we got. I want to say thank you. This was actually fun. Not very often we get to talk a lot of college sports. I know everyone's kind of focused on NFL because NFL is coming up. What is it? July 31st is Hall of Fame game. July 30th,
Yeah,
something
I
like
believe so. Yeah, it's
that.
coming up in September, hot and ready. It's
I'm
coming
like,
fast.
to me, I'm like, it's Hall of Fame game, whatever. It's
Yeah.
pointless to me.
September is when the season starts.
Yeah,
That's
I'm a
when
little
it gets
concerned about August 30th.
hot.
You know, 'cause August 30th hits. That's where you're going to see Syracuse playing against Tennessee, and my buddy's going to be sitting here in my checkered overalls watching the dang game and screaming
There
at
you
the
go.
damn TV. That's what I'm going to be doing.
There you go.
But no, so we have that, and again, go check out the Marshall Experience on his YouTube, Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, any of your fantasy needs. Hit him up. I guarantee you, he has no problem answering your questions. I know us at Sports Lounge Media, we like to pick each other's brains a lot, talking sports all the time. But we decided we are going to do a Sports Lounge Media fantasy football league,
Yes.
just for those that are on our shows. And I'm gonna put him to this test, and we're gonna see how good he is because I've been playing for a minute. I'm like, I'll let him have his bragging rights as long as he can beat me. So I'll say that because I've won my share of championships, and I know he has too. So it's going to be a fun one. And I believe you guys also are going to be setting up one for the fans, correct?
Yeah. So we're me and Sunshine. We're trying to get together with some people and create a little fun buy-in league for some viewership. Just kind of get some viewers involved, and could be a fun time. So stay tuned for that.
And hey, you guys get that going. I'm going to put this out here right now. Whoever wins that league, you guys get that league going. Whoever wins that league, I will send them a Yeti that's been laser engraved with the Sports Lounge Media logo on it. So,
you heard it here first.
So it's not just about the money. I mean, even though everyone wants money, but we're gonna up that ante a little bit, and we're also gonna toss in a Yeti, a 40-ounce Yeti, got the Sports Lounge Media logo laser engraved on it. So I mean, nice little kicker toss on that. So I think that's going to be a good one. But no, so again, we want to thank all of our sponsors, of course, with the Mogul brand, which we are powered by, and the Diamond Collection. If you need any of things for the water, hit up the poweredbytmb.com, type in the Sports Lounge, and you will receive 20% off your order. They have all your concentrates ready to ship. And of course, we also have number one sports fan located Tulare, Visalia, Hanford, and Los Angeles down in West Covina. Cali Built Graphics takes care of all of our needs when it comes to our shirts, hats, everything like that. And Brian Martino Construction, hit him up to receive that $1,000 off for any project that's over $10,000. And again, we will be seeing you here at the Sports Lounge on Wednesday night at 6 o'clock. Marshall, you will be on again on Tuesday. And actually, we are going to be starting up. I know a lot of people have really been paying attention to baseball. It is officially baseball season. I mean, it's baseball season to me every day. But no, Saturdays we are going to be going live. And guys, send me those baseball questions. Send them into me, and I'm going to sit there and start going over baseball season because we do have the All-Star break coming up, and it's going to be a good one. So, and of course, it is in Atlanta. But no, we will be going live on Saturdays to come to you to talk about Major League Baseball. So we thank you all. We appreciate you all. And we just got to say God bless and enjoy the rest of your weekend.
Thank you, guys.